Thank you, Dr. Clark. We've been joined by our honorary chairman, Congressman Elijah Cummings, 7th District of Maryland. Please give him a round of applause. And before I introduce him, I would like to let you all know that the Congressman has been selected by the Black Psychiatrists of America to receive our James Ralph Memorial Distinguished Award for Public Service. And we're honored to be able to present this award. Dr. Ralph was a member of BPA and helped us create the American Psychiatric National Institute of Mental Health Minority Fellowship, of which many of us would not have been psychiatrists had we not gotten those fellowships. So it's my congressman from Maryland, and my duty and honor to present you this distinguished award.
Thank you so much.
And without further ado, he doesn't need an introduction. He'll take the show.
Before he has another vote.
Yeah, before he has to go
Thank
to
you
another
very
vote.
much.
Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pat. To all of you, it is indeed my honor and my privilege to be here. I must tell you that I'm tired. There is probably no member of Congress that has more on their plate than I do. I am the top Democrat on the Benghazi Committee, top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, and just finished literally writing the platform for the Democratic Party. As chairman of that drafting committee, so I'm tired. But I wanted to stop by here, first of all, to thank you for what you do. To thank you for what you do. For so many people, you are the last line of defense. And I know you get tired sometimes because you see people who are troubled, people who have problems, and they keep marching towards you. And while you want to be a miracle worker, you know you're not. And while you're trying to solve and resolve other people's problems and help them through their difficulties, quiet as kept, you got your own. You got your own. So I wanted to just thank you for that, just for standing in the gap. And, you know, I got to tell you, when we look at what has happened over the years, and that is changing policy so that people begin to look at mental illness and mental problems on a level of parity with physical problems. Come on now. You all had a lot to do with that. So in those moments when you get discouraged, when the problems keep marching towards you, and when you feel like giving up, when you ask the question, why am I in this? Lord, why did you bring me here? What difference is I making? These are the moments you need to understand that the Congress of the United States of America, the most powerful government in the world, has been affected by this organization, because I don't know of too many organizations that have pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for mental health parity like you have. You need to give yourselves a hand on that one. Come on now, don't act like y'all don't know. Don't act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm assuming that you tell your patients and the people that come in contact with you, sometimes they need to pause. They need to pause and take stock of what they've accomplished. But guess what? You need to do it too. And so I've come by here to let you know that we are going to continue to do all that we can to make sure that the people that you want to help have the resources that they need, that is the insurance coverage and the things that they need so that you can help them. And because we realize that you all have to survive too. Hello? And so I just wanted to make sure that you understood that where we are. Now back in 1999, the Surgeon General's report found that, you know, there were millions of people who had some type of mental disorder, but only 15% were seeking treatment. You all know better than I know, but I would imagine some of it, was there such a stigma attached to mental problems? Come on now. Once somebody is determined to have a mental problem, then people begin to second guess almost everything they say. See, I live in the inner city, been there all my life. And you know what they say, you know, that girl got problems, you know that, don't you? You know where she been, y'all. And they take everything that they say with a bucket of salt. So the stigma becomes very significant. I remember I had an aunt, my first relationship with mental illness was my mother's sister, her older sister. She had come up from Florida and she got on the Greyhound bus, came up from Tallahassee, and she got lost in the bus station. And she didn't seem to know where she was. Anyway, police found her and got her to us. But I will never forget as an 8-year-old boy, how my Aunt Bessie would go to the door late at night and be trying to get out the door. We had to take shifts to keep her in because she said people were calling her name. Calling her name. Now, I know y'all know what, y'all can diagnose that, I don't know the terms, but she was hearing voices. And then she became violent. And my mother didn't know how to handle it. My mother only had a 3rd grade education, my father, 3rd grade education. And they said that the demons were in her. Anybody familiar? Come on, don't act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And they surrounded her with the sisters from the church. Come on now. Trying to pray the demons out of her. Well, thank God, mental health has come a long way. Don't get me wrong, as the son of 2 preachers, I believe in God. But Aunt Bessie died in a mental hospital. So, and a lot of us, I'm sure, if I asked you to raise your hands, I said, how many of you all, why did you get into this field? I'll bet you any amount of money, a lot of it had to do with some pain that you saw, and then you took the pain and you turned it into a passion to do your purpose. There's another thing that I thank you for. I thank you for seeing black people as human beings. As human beings. When Freddie Gray was killed, a little boy living in my district, in my neighborhood, in the neighborhood that I've lived in for 35 years. And I was invited to speak at the funeral. And I will never forget, they had 43 cameras from all over the world for this little black boy. They had cameras from France, from Portugal, from London, from Africa, to observe a funeral that. And I asked just one question when I was invited to speak. I said, you've appeared here today, and it's nice that you're here. But did you see him when he lived? Did you see the little boy was born to a mother and father, a mother who was drug addicted, and a father who had been through so much, and in the words of the Negro national anthem, in a time when hope unborn had already died. Did you see him? Did you see the little boy? And you all have to deal with this. Did you see the little boy who, when he got to the 3rd grade, could not figure out why he could not read the words "see spot run"? Couldn't figure it out, but his body was already filled with lead. Did you see him? Did you see him when he got a little bit older? When he hadn't learned to read, and it was time for him to read to learn, and he got frustrated and he began to act out, and then they filled him with all kinds of medicines trying to calm him down. Hello? Did you see him? Did you see him when he got older and got arrested some 21 times? Trying to survive. Did you see him when he turned to drugs because he was in so much pain that he didn't even know he was in pain? Come on now. Did you see him? And I am convinced that so often we as a people are invisible. Don't even see us. On Capitol Hill, I got to tell you, I am so often underestimated. Underestimated. And so, y'all got a tough job. You got a tough job. So I just wanted to come by to encourage you, because we're going to cover our part up here. We're going to work hard to make sure that we deal with, in my committee, this just hit me. In my committee, we had a situation where, the opiates, we've been talking about treating this thing as a mental health problem for years. And I said this is not new, okay? I said it, and I said, it's interesting when white people were going through this, you put us in jail. You put us in jail. Our sons and daughters, they were reaching out because we know that along with when you have a drug problem, usually, and you all are experts, so I'm talking as a layman now, usually there's a mental problem somewhere that goes along with that. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm right now.
You're right.
And so it took all of that to finally say we need to deal with this as a health problem. But you know what pains me? Is all the lives, the dreams that got flushed down this toilet. The little boys and the little girls that grew up with you all. You know the ones. Some of them voted most likely to succeed, but they never succeeded. Got caught up in a storm that they didn't even know was a storm, and even when they figured out what the storm was, they couldn't even manage to get out because they were so confused and had no way out. By the way, there in my neighborhood, I'll never forget, I was on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's like an open drug market. No, not Pennsylvania North. This is a little further down on Pennsylvania Avenue. And I'll never forget hearing somebody say, say, they holler out the names of the drugs. And one of the names of the drugs was No Way Out. This is my last point. I beg you to stay on the battlefield. You were placed where you are placed for a reason. There's a reason you are where you are. It may only be for a temporary time, but there's a reason. And can I tell you a little secret? In part, it's to bring you happiness. It's to bring you happiness. And I discovered that watching my mother. My mother had a stroke on the first of the year. Pentecostal minister, 89 years old, in excellent health, standing in the pulpit at 12:35 in the morning, saying good night to the parishioners after they had watched the new year come in. A woman who had been a pastor of her own church for at least 50 years. So, mother suffered a stroke. And I know you all have been familiar with stroke victims. I tell you, I have never, it gave me a new appreciation for every bodily function, for every mental function, for every emotional function, for anything you can do. I mean, I thank God just being able to even touch this thing and feel it. But anyway, I'm going to close that because I know I'm holding up too much time. But let me just say, my mother, I try to learn from every single thing that happens. I tell my children, I said, do not ask the question when bad things happen to you. Do not ask the question, why did it happen to me? Ask why did it happen for me. I could not believe that my mother had gone through this just to be going through it. I knew that there was something in there for me and for her. And so there was my mother. She had lost all use of her left side, had lost half the use of her right side, and she couldn't open her eyes, couldn't swallow, couldn't talk. A mother who just the day before, the day of the stroke, was doing fine. Really could live by herself. So there I was watching after about a month and a half, Dr. Pat. I came to observe her rehabilitation, and I just stood in the corner because I just wanted to watch. And as I stood over there and watched, don't forget, she cannot see, can't even open her eyes, can't speak. So I began to watch her, and so the therapist, I'm going to show you why this what y'all doing when you do it. So the therapist began to try to help her, and said, Miss Ruth, we're going to work on your arm today. And I'm standing in the corner. She said, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand up under your hand, and my mother's sitting in the wheelchair. She said, I'm going to lift it up, and when I let it go, I'm going to let it go slowly, but I want you to hold it up. So my mother, they do it so that it gets it up about level with, her chest. And next thing you know, the therapist pulls her hand down, and then my mother's hand goes. I said, uh-oh, it's going to be a long afternoon. And so then she tries it again. She said, Miss Ruth, I believe you can do this. I just believe it. It's in my heart. I believe it. And I just felt the passion of this young lady, little young African-American lady who was just, she was serious. So she tried it again. And so she gets up, and she gets it up around a little bit higher. And she said, now, Ms. Ruth, I want you to keep it up there now, but I'm getting ready to bring it down. So she brings her hand down, and my mother's hand is just shaking, and then next thing you know, it's just going. So I wanted to interject right there. I just want to say, leave my mother alone. you know she can't do this. But that young lady said, you can do this. She said, I know you can do this. And then she went back and she began to massage her shoulders. And Miss Ruth, I know you can do it. I just feel you can do it. I can feel it. I said, boy, she's serious. So she tried it again. And so she gets it up. And so she says, Miss Ruth, I'm getting ready to let it go. And so the next thing you know, she lets it go, and my mother's hand stays still. I mean, she's shaking, but she's holding steady. I'm over there saying to myself, you go, Ma, you go. That's what I'm saying to myself. And so next thing you know, the hand is coming up, and she said, Miss Ruth, can you get a little higher? And she gets it a little higher, and then she said, and then my mother says, does like this. She says, and then she comes back up, and she says, and then the therapist begins to cry like a baby. Why was she crying? I asked the question, why are you crying? She said, she just made my day. She said, not my day, my year. She said, Congressman, don't you realize I live for moments like this? These are the moments I live for. This is what brings me joy. Brings me joy. And she said, one of the things that I've noticed is that people in your mother's condition, when they can't do anything else, that's how they say thank you. She said she was saying thank you. And I said, this little girl, I said, how did you get into this? I wanted to know the background of this young woman who was about 26 years old. I said, how did you get, she said, my mother had a stroke. And my mother died when I was 14, and my mother died after 3 days. She said, and I vowed that I would spend the rest of my life helping somebody with strokes. Did you hear what she said, though? Don't miss it. She said, it brought me joy. Are you following what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm saying to you, that's why you do what you do. It's not about the money. I mean, some of you are making a little change, some of you not. Amen. The check is never enough. But the joy that you get, which nobody can even pay for, the joy you get. And so sometimes I just came by here to encourage you to continue to do what you do, because it brings you joy. It brings you a sense of fulfillment. It feeds your souls. And by the way, when you do that, not only do you bring yourself joy, but in the process you help somebody. And in the process you encourage somebody. And I don't even know, I do not know the psychological, or how y'all say it. I'm sure it's a term from what I'm about to describe. Y'all can tell me what you're giving me the clinical term, and then I can use it in my next speech. But there's something about helping people have hope. It's something about it, just the idea that there's a possibility that things will get better. Something about hope. And as we work with my mother, I know my mother would be dead if she did not have a sense of hope. And so I say to you, thank you for the award. You didn't have to give me an award. I appreciate it though. If I could take the award and break it up, I'd give every one of you a piece of it. Because you're the ones who are on the battlefield. You're the ones who are sacrificing over and over again. You're the ones who are worried about folks that you come in contact with. You're the ones who mourn when you know that there are people that you work with that maybe you did not have the success that you wanted to have, and you realize that their life may come to an end, and maybe they never got to where they dreamed of going. Come on now. You are the ones who were born for what could have been. You're the ones that give so much. And so that's why I say we got your back up here. So I didn't even use my notes, but I wanted to just stop by. And I want you to do me one other favor. As you go out there and you touch other people, remember, just keep in mind that you're giving something that they desperately need. And that is, you're giving them a human interaction of somebody who cares about them. And continue to go out there and become better at what you do. Better and better. Go to the seminars, go to the whatever, the state-of-the-art stuff. I mean, as a lawyer, I try to stay right on top of all the new stuff. Stay on top of it so that you can offer, I'm sorry, I'm almost finished. I'm almost finished. But continue to do that. Because, I keep thinking about the story of the Good Samaritan. I love that story. I love that story. It looks good. I mean, if you haven't read it lately, go read it. Because I'm telling you, there's something about that story. Remember, and he stops and he helps the guy who's been robbed, and the two others had passed the man by, and it was and so he helped him. But every time I read that story, I keep thinking to myself, first of all, he came and he helped somebody, and the first thing he did was pour oil and wine, if I remember correctly, in the wound. So apparently he had some knowledge of how to deal with this thing, all right, this illness, knowledge. Number two, he put him on a donkey, so he had a car. Amen. He had a car. Live car, but a car. But then he had something else. Then he took him to the inn, remember? Go back and read it. He took him to the inn, and he paid the innkeeper and said, look after my friend, and if it costs more, I'm going to come back in a day or so, and I'm going to pay you. So that means he had some money, and he had good credit. What am I saying? Amen. If we're going to help people, we got to bring something to the table. It's not enough to just say, oh, pity, 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 sorry. We need to bring something to the table, and what you are bringing is invaluable. In the words of the commercial, it's priceless. Thank you all. All right now. Thank you all. I'm going to take my work.
The congressman, as usual, is a hard act to follow. Y'all give him a round of applause and keep excellent the room. And Congressman, we want you to leave with a heart filled with joy and hope, because we got your back too. Are we going to try it again? Well, y'all, I don't know. I'm pretty good at following a good act, but every time the congressman come, I have to rethink my position.
Look at me.
I may not be good as I think I am. But it is always wonderful to have him in the room. It's always wonderful to be in this place doing this stuff. He's absolutely right. We are where we need to be at this moment in time. Okay, we're going to try this again. Let's see. Historical trauma? Or minority mental health form. I didn't read enough. And where is the... Here we go. Now, when we plug this in, we should be good to go. So y'all, we think we have fixed our technical problem.